Hello, everyone, and welcome to our training session for the new reporting form for campaign hours. I want you all to thank Beverly Owensby for the work she's put into this, as well as our team, Nikki Beaver and Lisa Xerax, and then Teresa Speak, the vice chair of the campaign committee. Beverly Owensby did such a wonderful job with the campaign committee the last 2 years that I asked her to do a repeat, and thank goodness she agreed to do that. So Beverly, turning it over to you.
Thank you so much. I want to welcome everyone to the NFRW Political and Campaign Volunteer Award Report Zoom. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to participate in the Zoom training. Thank you for all of your hard work on campaign and elections and for reporting your club's political and campaign volunteer hours and calls. I would like to say a special thank you to Martha Jenkins, our newly elected NFRW president, and Lisa Xerax, NFRW technology director, for all of their hard work to find a better reporting process for clubs to report their volunteer hours and calls and to have unlimited access to the data reported. As the 2024-25 NFRW Campaign and Elections Committee Chair, I discussed the limitations of WUFU with Martha Jenkins and Lisa Xerax after the NFRW convention. Since clubs couldn't make changes to their volunteer hours and calls reports, they would submit multiple reports while choosing the wrong report period. There were 4 reporting periods, and they would unintentionally choose multiple periods each time they updated a report for the same period. In addition, multiple club members were submitting a report with different information. Since I was responsible for determining the top award winners based on the data, this became extremely difficult. If I had been a mind reader, I would have had no problem knowing which report was accurate, because I wanted to ensure that the top member, top clubs, and state winners were accurate. I spent untold hours, days, and weeks trying to clean up the raw data for each award period. WUFU didn't have an option for club presidents or state presidents to access their volunteer club or state hours and calls reports. I was paying attention, and NFRW listened. Martha Jenkins and Lisa Xerax immediately started working to ensure changes were made to accomplish these 3 things. 1, simplify the reporting process for the club president. 2, allow changes to be made on 1 report for each period. 3, provide unlimited access of the period reports to the club president and the state president. NFRW is excited to announce a significant upgrade to the Political and Campaign Volunteer Awards program for 2026-2027. NFRW has developed a new and more simplistic process for clubs to report their new political and campaign volunteer hours and calls. The new report form will be part of the NFRW website and database system at nfrw.org. State and club presidents will use their existing NFRW login ID and password to access the new report on the NFRW website. All club presidents should appoint a campaign chair who will be responsible for collecting the club's political and campaign total hours and calls. For each 6-month period, the first award period covers club volunteer hours and calls from July 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025. The first award period hours and calls can be added to the new form website starting today through February 28. Club presidents can fill out the form on the NFRW website in less than 5 minutes. It's super short. No volunteer hours or calls can be added after the February 28 deadline. Clubs cannot carry over any late volunteer hours or calls reported after each award period deadline. Only the volunteer hours and calls activity during each 6-month period will be permitted. Club presidents can make changes on the NFRW website form at any time between now and February 28th, which is the last day to report volunteer hours and calls for this period. The NFRW Political and Campaign Awards instructions have been updated and are posted on the NFRW website where you'll be able to see that form. In a few minutes, they're going to show you where that will be. But also, when you go in there to add your hours, you'll see it directly above the instructions. So it's extremely important that you read the NFRW Political and Campaign Volunteer Award instructions in its entirety due to the new report on the NFRW website and other relevant changes. The deadline reporting for each period are listed on the last page of the instructions. It's extremely important for the club campaign chair to pay attention to the number of volunteer hours a club member is reporting. It is a frequent problem for club members to report an unrealistic number of hours that are humanly impossible. These individuals will report that they're spending every second of every day, of every week, and every month volunteering while there is zero time to eat, sleep, take a shower, change their clothes, buy groceries, or do anything else except volunteer. When club members report an excessive number of hours, they obviously are guessing rather than keeping a record of their volunteer hours. This is unfair to the other volunteers who are keeping records of their hours and calls. On page 2 of the instructions, it shows there are 4,320 hours in a 6-month reporting period. If a person reports 3,000 hours for a 6-month period, they are supposedly volunteering an estimated 17 hours every day for 6 months, which leaves only 7 hours each day to eat, sleep, shower, buy groceries, etc. This is impossible. So please encourage your members to keep records and be realistic in their reporting of their total volunteer hours and calls. The club campaign chair should double check each member's total volunteer hours and calls to ensure they are accurate and reasonable. Thank you so much. And at this time, Nikki, do we have any questions?
Only one. Cornelia said, "Where are the instructions?"
Okay, and right now we're getting ready for part 2 of our Zoom, and that is, I'm going to turn that over to Lisa Ziriak, our technology director, and she will show you. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. So we are going to do a screen share so that I can walk you through the process. Can everybody see that? Okay, so state and club presidents have access to the campaign report form through the admins menu right here. So you'll want to come to the website and log in, and then you're going to come to the admin menu, and then you're going to click Submit Campaign Hours and Calls. So we've already talked about this, but before you submit your first report, please read these instructions right here and other details before you move ahead. So then once you've read the instructions, you're going to move to this blue box here, and state presidents will have access to all of their clubs in this pull-down menu right here. And club presidents will have access to their club only. So I'm going to switch the screen now. So to submit a report, a president will select the correct club in this menu, and then they're going to click here. So I've got the Athens Limestone Republican Women of Alabama selected for this demo. So when I click here, it opens the report template. So if I were the president of this club, I would proceed to fill out the relevant information and then click Save Record at the bottom of the screen. So let's take a look at each data point here. So this first data point is the club size. And this is really important. You need to select your club size based on your number of members. And then after you do that, you'll move on to the contact section where the person filling out the form will put their name, their email, and their phone number in. And then you move into the data section. And this is where you're going to input your top member calls, the name and the number, and then the top member hours, the name and the number. And then these final 2 boxes are for your club totals, the total number of calls and the total number of hours. And then very important that you save the record when you're finished. So we've already talked about this, but I'll go back over it again. The first report period is open today, February 9th through February 28th. It covers hours and calls accrued from July 1st to December 31st of last year. After February 28th, the first report period will close. And you can see that here. Here's a reminder of when this first report period closes. After you have submitted your initial report, you can come back anytime during the report period and make updates. So we are going to take a look at that now. I'm going to switch over. So if you've already submitted your report and you come back to the website, you're going to see your report listed here. This is what your screen will look like. And so for the purposes of this demo, I have Visalia Republican Women Federated of California pulled up. So to reopen your report and make edits, you will just simply click on the report. You will proceed to go in and update whatever data you want to update. And then you're going to, very important, click Save Record at the bottom. So I also want to point out some resources at the bottom of this web page. There's an easy link to, we're going to go over this in a moment, but there's an easy link to jump over to do an export right here. If you need to get to the awards page with all of the awards forms and information, you can do that. The deadlines calendar is also included where we're going to post the information about all 4 report periods for this award program. Also, if you're having technical problems filling out the form or doing your export, you can click here and fill out a form, and then the NFRW staff will help you work through that problem. So now let's take a look at the export, how you do an export. So to do that, I'm going to go back out to our home page. And so to click or to export a report, you're going to go back to the admin menu and you're going to click here on Club Roster Membership Card Export. So you're going to make your club selection or your state selection if you're a state president at the top of the page here in this pull down menu. Then you're going to scroll down to club campaign hours and calls. This is the specific report for campaign hours and calls. You're going to select your report period that you want to export your data for. So we're in the first period. Then you're going to click Export Campaign Info. Then you're going to scroll down here to where it says Campaign Exports, and it might take a few minutes for your report to appear here, but you're going to need to refresh your menu by clicking there. And I have a couple of previous reports I pulled already ready. So then all you're going to do is you're just going to click on the report you want to download, and it starts the download here. And then I'm going to open it so you can see what it looks like when you download your report. So there's your report. And this is the Visalia Republican Women Federated that I previously exported. So you can see all of your data is here. So that's basically it. It's very simple. Let's see if we have any questions in the chat that.
We do.
Okay.
A lot of questions.
Okay.
Let me try to find the top one here.
I'm going to leave my screen share open so I can show you whatever we need to see based on the questions.
Okay. Okay, which I think this is a great one because it's very relevant to how campaigns are changing, but do text count as calls? I know this is not maybe this may be for Beverly, but
Okay.
she's saying, oh, you're muted, Beverly.
Yes. So basically, any calls or texts, anything like that you do will count toward your hours. And then we have a separate category for calls. So as you're calling people, keep up with the hours that you're making those phone calls, the time it takes, plus you get the calls separately in a separate category.
Okay, and this one may be for you, Lisa. We'll do one more.
Okay.
How long will it take to get the recording online? So I'm assuming get their hours online.
Are you talking about the Zoom video of this particular session online?
I think she is trying to, well, and Teresa, you can send another message, Bradford, if I'm saying this wrong, but I think she means like, when will they be able to be uploaded and go back and look to make sure everything's there and correct?
As soon as you
Immediately.
submit your report, it's available for you to go back. It should be instantaneous. It should be instantaneous for you to be able to go back in immediately. And if you realize, oh, I put the wrong data in this one field, you can go open it back up, make your update. As long as it's not February 28th at 11:59 p.m., you should be able to go back and open it up and make your change right away.
Okay,
I'm
and
not sure if I answered the right question.
I'll follow up with her and make sure. Since
Okay.
we're doing really well on time, I'll go ahead and put one more question out there. Will state awards chairs have access to all state clubs? And this may be for Beverly or whichever one.
It,
So, oh, go
oh, go
ahead,
ahead,
Beverly.
Lisa. Go ahead.
So right now, only state presidents and club presidents have access to this form. Not, so your awards chairmen do not have access.
Okay, and this one I'll just do one more and then I'll let you go, Teresa. How do they acquire their admin login? I've seen that question a few times.
So if you do not have a login yet, you will want to go up here to, let me see if I can do it without logging myself out. I'll log myself out so I can show you. Um, you're gonna go to the login here, and then you're gonna go to activate your website account in a few simple steps. And then you're gonna put your email address that's on file with the NFRW in this box, and then you're gonna click register account. And as long as we know who your state and club officers are at the national level, as long as those have been reported up to us, your officers will already be designated in our system, and our system will know as soon as you register your website account, our system will know that you're an admin if those have been reported by your state federation. And you'll immediately have access to that admin button once you log in. So once you get your website account activated and you're logged in for the first time, let me see if I can get back there. You're going to have this admin pull down menu. And then that's where these two links are housed, the form and the export. And if you have any issues at all, let us know. Let the NFRW staff will be happy to help you if you're having any problems with that.
Yes, and just really quick, I forgot to say this earlier, but I just put in the message or in the chat the link to the form on the website and then the email address for Teresa and Beverly if you guys have questions. So if we don't get to your question today, or you think of one in between now and then or whenever, I will keep putting that in the chat. So keep looking for that. It's the link to the form and the email if you have questions. Okay, Beverly, take it away.
Okay, well, I'm seeing a lot of questions that have to do with access. And so basically, because the club president and the state president, I think has already been mentioned, they already have access to the membership database. And so this is just connecting them to the campaign report. Because the simplicity of the form, we would like for the club president to input that information. But she's going to be relying on the club campaign chair to continue to collect all those hours. And then once she has that information that's needed on the form, that information is then given to the president. And then the president can input the information. The president can certainly, download the export and send it to anyone that she would like to in the state. That includes the state president, if they wanted to share it with their campaign awards chair or campaign chair, or a club president who wants to share it with someone.
Another question we're getting a lot is, what is a top member? What does that mean?
The top member volunteer hours and the top member volunteer calls. So in your club, when your campaign chair sees all the numbers, and she's going to be able to, whether she puts this in a spreadsheet or she just writes it on a piece of paper, depending on the size of your club, she can immediately see who has the most calls and for that 6-month period. and she can also see who has the highest number of hours. So we have a club, we recognize the top club. At national, we'll recognize the top club for that entire period, the top member for calls, the top member for hours, the club calls and the club hours, and then the states with that have the most.
Okay, do you want another question or you want to move to Teresa?
Oh, let's let Teresa speak. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and I want to thank Martha for having trust in me to serve as the vice chair. And thank you, Beverly. I'm going to learn a lot working with you. My focus today is why are we focusing on reporting campaign hours and calls? What is the importance of that? That's the primary issue that I want to discuss. I'm also going to talk about who collects, which has been touched on, who reports, the incentives and the recognition from the NFRW, and where to email your questions. So basically, the NFRW, as you all know, is one of the largest grassroots political organizations in the country. We have thousands of active members. As a matter of fact, we have chapters in all 50 states and Puerto Rico with over 70,000 members. I'm sure all of you are aware of that. We work hard. NFRW members work hard, and we elect Republicans to office at all levels of government. We have this reporting process for a reason. We want to recognize your efforts. We want you to be proud, and to be recognized, we need to hear from you. This is primary and associate members of local clubs who can be reported. They're engaged in a wide range of activities. As I mentioned earlier, it'll be listed in the instructions, but I'm going to give you a sample. Many of the people I've talked to say, well, does this count? Does that count? Well, a sample is voter education, registration, researching issues and legislation, walking precincts, making political campaigns and calls, writing letters, sending texts and emails. And again, it was asked earlier, a text is different than an email. A text is not a call. You can count the hour. The call is a call, and the call can be counted for a call and for the time spent making that call. We know that we, as a political organization, are driving force within the Republican Party, and we've saved candidates a whole lot of money and the Republican Party a lot of money with our volunteer hours. However, some of our clubs are not accurately reporting. Beverly talked about the over-reporting. I kind of want to touch on the under-reporting, okay, because I think that's also important. Many clubs aren't reporting at all, and many clubs are under-reporting. They're saying, you know, I go to a meeting, they don't count the hours driven. So we need you to be conscientious about taking important value in reporting accurately. Reporting these hours are an impact, again, as I said, for the state federation, for the clubs. I noticed that somebody, I think Nikki was asking about putting out a fundraising letter. We use that information a lot. We say, look, our club did 50,000 hours in 6 months. It's worth X amount of dollars. We're having a fundraiser. We need some sponsors. So we use that information. So it's really, really important that we get that information correct. My motto is the job ain't done till the paperwork is done. So if we don't submit the hours, we didn't do them. I mean, we might have done them, but we didn't report them. So nobody's getting any credit. And it's not just about the credit. It's about the pride we have in what we do. I think that's much more important. It's been mentioned and it's in the chat that if you have any questions on how or what to report or when, you can contact us at the email nfrwvolunteerhourscalls@gmail.com. That'll be Beverly and I that respond to that. So we will be recognizing, as I mentioned earlier, our federated clubs and individual members for their political and campaign volunteer hours in the Capital Connection newsletter. Please read your newsletter, not only for this, but just because we have lots of information for you, like this training session was advertised on this. We also will be recognizing you at the Board of Directors meeting, and in March will be the first one, and then at our biannual conference. This first period has been reported several times as being July through December. And in many instances, you already have that information. You've just been holding it. So it's going to be really, really easy just to report it. Okay, that's the first reporting period for this biannual period. Each club should have a campaign committee chairperson of somebody that collects those hours, helps the members, prods them on, recognizes them, gets them to report. That's the campaign chairperson. Then when she's completed with doing her report, she gives that information to the club president, and the club president would submit into the form. Basically, I just want to tell you that we are very proud of you and we want you to report, and I'm going to work closely with you if you need any help. Thank you so very much.
Okay, we have several repeat questions here. Let's see, one was specific to you, Teresa. Did you say associate member hours count? We had this several times.
Yes, associate member hours count. They just cannot get the award because they're not a member. So let's just say you're male associate, and it's only your male associate, because your associate member who is an associate at another club will report her hours at her club. So her hours will go to her club. So that's not those associate hours, but your male associate hours will count for your club. So say you have a great guy that does all the yard signs and everything. He's got, 100 hours. It counts towards your total club. It does not count towards the award for top person.
Okay, and then if you guys can go over how, I think we established texting counts, but how that counts, we're getting that question, or how they put that in as hours, we're getting that quite a bit.
Well, I mean, how much time did it take you to text? It takes you 15 minutes maybe to prepare a text. So you're not going to report 15 minutes. So you're going to probably accumulate that, okay? So that's the reason why it's different between a call and a text, because you can text 100 people in 15 minutes. You can't call 100 people in 15 minutes.
Okay, we just got this one again. So if you'll just reiterate, so male associate members, how are they different from female associate members, and how do they count towards the total hours?
Beverly, you want to take that? Since I already said it once.
Yes. Okay. All right. So basically, so if it is a female associate member, then the only way she can be an associate member of your club is she's a primary member of another club. So she's going to count her hours at her club. And I think that the instructions will help a lot, because I think it does point out that if it's a spouse, let's say you have someone that's a member of your club and their spouse is a member of your club and has hours, those hours will count toward your club. But you could have an associate male who's a member of your club and doesn't have a spouse that's a member of a federated club, and that person would then decide if those hours are going to go to your club or they're going to go to one of the other clubs that they're members of. So that's something that has to be determined. You could call the person and ask them. If you have an associate that maybe is campaigning or has a lot of volunteer hours, you would have to actually find out which club is going to get those hours.
Okay, next question. If a previous president did not submit hours for 2025, no one tracked anything, where do they start where does the new president start?
They could go back and because we have a reporting period that's still open for that last, if we're talking about the last period, if it's for the entire year, the first part of 2025, that's already closed out. But from July 1 to December 31, your club or state still has time to go back and ask clubs or members to calculate and report their hours and their calls. So, that's what you should do. Certainly not guess at it, but go back and try to get your members, because you do have time. You have until February 28th to report that.
Nikki, I think it might be helpful if I showed everybody one more thing on the website, if that's okay.
Sure.
Because I know not everybody is a president, a club president or a state president. So I'm going to show you where these instructions are posted. if you're like an awards chair and you don't have access to this admin's menu, um, the instructions are also posted under the member tab. So again, you're going to need to log in. You can go to members, general resources and forms, awards forms, and you're going to scroll down on the awards forms page and you can get those instructions here. It just dawned on me that not everybody's a club or state president and they might need to get those awards and review them for other purposes. So again, that's you log in, and if your membership is current, you're going to have this members tab. Then you're going to go to general resources and forms, and then awards forms, and then you're going to scroll down. So
We are still getting some questions about reporting text. Is there a specific line for reporting text, or do those go under calls?
That's under
No.
hours.
Just
They
total
don't-
hours.
Are we going to have that frequently asked questions form? Because that particular one specifically answers that question. It specifically says it is not a call. And the reason it's not a call is because it doesn't take the time to call. Okay, so it is an hour, and obviously it's not a full hour to do a text unless you do I don't know, lots of time on a text, but hardly ever. So you would just take those and count them as within your hours, accumulate the texts, and come up with an hour. And only report full hours, by the way. That's another thing, full hours, no half hours.
Okay, new question. If a person becomes a member for part of the reporting period but have been attending the entire time as a visitor, can we count all their volunteer hours?
No, you can only count the hours when they were a member of the Federation.
Okay, and we're getting a lot of confusion on who can sign in and do this. The specific last question was, what good does that login for the awards chairs do if we can't fill out the form ourselves? So if we can go over kind of who has permission and on how that goes.
I can talk a little bit
Okay.
about that. Our system, we are only able to track presidents and treasurers in our system. So the permissions levels are very complicated and complex. And at this time, that we're only able to do that. So I'll let Beverly talk about if there are other options for other people to submit the form by sharing login credentials. Beverly, I don't know if you want to jump in.
Okay,
Um,
right. Yes. Okay. So basically, I would say this. If this was the WUFU system like we had before, I would understand why the club president would probably not want to be dealing with it just because, it required a lot of contact information. This is simple. I mean, it's just, you saw the form. It's very simple. And the club president's not putting it in individual members. This is the total. It's just the total club hours, the total club calls, then the top volunteer member for calls and the top member for hours. That is simply it. And so the club president will put their name in there, their email, their phone number, and then that information I just said. And that is it. So we really want, because the club president has access, this is a new system, a new process. And I think that that's the way we should move forward. And if for some reason you have a president that's, there's a problem or something, but that president should have an opportunity to try this new form out first. Thank you.
We're still getting a few questions about male legislators as associate members and how their members or how their hours can count or not count.
Go ahead, Beverly.
Okay. Well, basically, if you have a legislator who is a member of your club, associate member, their spouse is not a member of a club, and they're members of multiple clubs, because that's usually what happens with our elected officials. They'll join multiple clubs. Those hours can't be counted by a club until they have permission from that associate member, because they may have already given permission for them to count. They can't be counted but one time. So that elected official is going to have to determine how he wants his hours to be which club gets credit. And also, I just want to remind everyone that no paid hours can be counted. So this is if someone is knocking on doors to get elected, something like that. But if it's any type of paid position, they cannot count those hours.
We are getting a lot of questions about what I'm sorry, I lost the word here. What the different segments of the reporting, the time frames of each reporting is.
6 months. So this is period 1, and period 2 goes from January 1 of this year through June 30th, 2027. Then that reporting period will be July 1 through July 31. So the second, third, and fourth periods, you will have about 30 days, 30 to 31 days to go in and input the club president can input the data. If the club finds out that there's members who didn't report, or they were, for whatever reason, and they can add numbers, they can go back into that form and put the correct numbers. They can now increase the calls. They can increase the number of volunteer hours as long as it's within that 30 days. So I would recommend that your club campaign chair be proactive during that 6-month period and try to collect hours. And at the minimum, at closer to the end, that she's already, trying to find out who has what hours. And then by the time that period ends on June the 30th, that she's close to having the number of hours for the club members and can then give that to the club president. The club president may not put them in on July 1, but she could do it on the 5th or the 6th. And then as they find out more club members have hours and calls, those can be put in the system. And I think that is what's really special about this new system and new form. It is so simple, and it also allows for change of those hours within that 31 days in July. And then that report can be exported, or it can just be looked at any time by the club president or the state president.
Okay, we've gotten this question in several different forms, but what if they're a new president and they don't have access to the information from a previous president because of whatever reason, how do they get that information if they haven't had it in the previous years? I think we've covered it a few times, but I keep getting that one. So
is that a club president or a state president?
She said she's a new president, so I'm assuming a club.
Okay. The same way. First of all, hopefully she can go back and find someone in the club who maybe had helped with that collection of hours. But if there's no record, or maybe the past club president didn't do that, then certainly, if I was her, I would start communicating with the members, make sure they have a copy of this instructions on what is counted. And listen, there's pages of suggestions for calls and hours that are on those instructions. So it's like 6 pages. So I hope that's the first thing you'll do after you get off of this call, the Zoom, is that you'll go in and you will print that out. And then not only that, you can forward that link to your club members and ask them to report their hours. You still have about 2 weeks left to do that, a little over 2 weeks.
Okay, I think
Not too late.
I think we have time for 2 more questions. This one I have seen come up a few times in the last few minutes. If members are working the polls, so they're a poll worker, they're getting paid, they're saying those have typically counted. Are we saying those don't count now? So maybe if we can go back over paid versus volunteer hours.
There are no paid hours that can be counted for volunteer. That's the way it was in 2024 and 2025, and that will be the case for 2026, 27. Where I think it gets complicated, because then once you start counting this, I think the way it is from state to state, some volunteers or club workers, let's say poll watchers or workers, don't get paid a lot. And so I think that's where let's let them count those volunteer hours. But then you have other areas that pay a lot. I mean, they may get $25 an hour to be a poll watcher or worker. So rather than like this exception, that exception, is just, basically you're volunteering. And so if you're getting paid at all, you can't count those hours. I'm sorry.
I think that is most of them. I do want to remind everybody, I've been putting in the chat the link to the form and the email address if you have questions when you're filling it out later, if we didn't get to your question, that is all in the chat right now. Let me see if I can find one more question.
And I just want to say one more thing while you're looking at the rest of the questions, Nikki. If you are a state president or a club president and you're having any difficulty accessing the admin menu and the report form page, please reach out to us and let us know, and we will work with you to get that resolved.
And I will answer the last question because we're getting this a lot too. When will this recording be available? And for sure, it will be in the Capital Connection on Friday. But we hope that it will be on the NFRW YouTube page sooner than that, hopefully as soon as tomorrow. Sorry about the phone. So the recording will be ready very, very soon. For sure, look in the Capital Connection this Friday, and I'll let you take it, Beverly.
Okay, I just want to thank everyone for being on the Zoom today and for taking time from your busy schedule. Thank you so much for all your hard work. We really do appreciate it. And NFRW appreciates the amount of time that you put in, and it makes a tremendous difference. And when clubs are working hard, and this is a good way that we can show other, whether it's elected officials or maybe businesses or sponsors, that look at the work that NFRW does. We work extremely hard. So this is a way that we can actually show physical numbers of what is being done. So thank you very much.